Good evening. I'd like to call the Britain Board of Education regular meeting for January 7th to order. The time is 6:53. Can we all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Asia, would you take roll call, please? Here.
Vice President Diane Reyes.
Here.
Secretary Anthony Payne-Lucy.
Yep.
Mr. Salvador Escobar.
Here.
Mr. Anthony Payne-Lucy.
Here.
Mr. Joseph Lister.
Here.
Ms. Annie Parker.
Here.
Ms. Jomina.
She's absent. She's excused.
Mr. Jose Rivera.
Here.
And Ms. Tina Santana.
Right here. Thank you. Just like to take a moment for, of meditation for thoughts of a wonderful new year. We're starting a new season here, and hopefully it's off to a great start. So just take a moment, be grateful. Thank you. Apparently there's no one on the list for public participation, but I will put out there, is there anyone interested or wanting to speak before the board this evening? I'll offer again. All right, seeing none, we'll move on. Sir, you're up with the superintendent's report.
Thank you, Madam President. It's my pleasure to bring forward Ms. Bloomfield and the Chamberlain School Chorus for a presentation of a couple of musical numbers for us. Thank you very much to the Chamberlain community for hosting us tonight. We're so glad to be here in this beautiful auditorium, and we're really looking forward to hearing some wonderful music from the students, guided by Ms. Bloomfield.
Good evening again. My name is Ms. Shanicia Bloomfield. It is such an honor to perform for the Board of Education tonight. Thank you so much for having us. Thank you to our administration. We are just so excited, and we hope you enjoy this next selection we have. It's called Everybody's Going on a Sleigh Ride. And I hope you come along with us. Then the last song we did was Love Wins. That was written by Diane Body, the former music teacher, in regards to the Sandy Hook shooting this week. This school is a Love Win school, and so in honor of what happened in Newtown years ago. But on a brighter note, we hope that you enjoy sleigh ride, going on a sleigh ride with us. We hope that you come along.
Thank you, students. Thank you, Ms. Bloomfield. Wonderful, wonderful. So glad to have you with us tonight. A couple other things for the superintendent's report tonight. Oh, and by the way, moms and dads and families, thank you for being here. If you want to take your kids home and do homework, we understand. You're welcome to stay for the meeting, of course, but if you need to take your kids home for homework and for dinner, we understand. Just a few other updates for the board from the superintendent's report tonight. I want to pay a special thank you to the students, the families, the staff of both Slade and Pulaski. I know that people have different opinions and thoughts on it, but we had a very successful launch of Yonder pouches this morning and today. I always like to put things in percentage, and I'm happy to report that I would say we were 99% successful. There were 8 phones confiscated at Slade School and 9 phones confiscated at Pulaski School today. So we're sure that, the hard work is not over. We know that there's a lot more to go. There's a lot of planning, so thank you in particular to the school leadership, Mr. Richardson, Ms. Solet, who all of whom put a lot of work into getting ready for a successful launch of the honor pouches this morning. I want to take a moment just to say a little bit about the superintendent's budget. We do have 2 sessions coming up where the public can hear more about the superintendent's budget. I believe those are on the 23rd and 30th of this month. So it's critically important that families that you understand that everything we do costs money. I know that's the kind of the boring stuff that comes from the superintendent. But we are in a position where we are going to need a lot of support from the city. So the superintendent's report, or the superintendent's budget that's going before the board for its consideration requests a 12.06% increase. That's a very substantial request, and I of course take it seriously. The members of the board know that. By and large, or a large part of that request has to do with properly staffing our special education programs. So I look forward to giving the board a more in-depth presentation on that. I know that the number has, I'm sure that the number has already become the talk of the town, at least among the elected officials. Of course, I would have predicted such, but I look forward to defending the budget because it is a very, very well thought out document. As usual, before you have an advanced copy of the district dispatch. I was hoping that perhaps Azine herself would be with us tonight because she's on the cover. Well, we'll recognize her when she gets here. So as a congratulations to her for being accepted into Notre Dame, of course, it's a wonderful accomplishment. As always, thanks to our communications department for how beautiful the document looks. Really nice building the Beacon article this month. We truly are becoming a model, in this case, nationally. So we had educators from around the nation came to New Britain to learn about our teacher residency program. Dr. Nicole Sanders and her team of that project did a wonderful job presenting, and had a wonderful talk with Mr. Kyle Green Pendleton, who is the speech language pathologist at Lincoln School. He received my challenge coin a few months ago. Really a standout, and again, receiving national level recognition. So when we say we're building the Beacon, that's not just a tagline, it's not just a slogan, it's something that we take seriously. And bit by bit, it is beginning to come true. So that's my report for this evening, much less interesting than the kids singing.
That's okay. It's a tough act to follow.
It is a tough act to follow.
Thank you, sir. All right, moving on to committee reports. Start with curriculum.
Sure. Curriculum met last month, and we had a presentation from Ms. Velasquez on the current state of curriculum approval. We were at 33% when Dr. Gasper came to the district 2 years ago. We're now at 46% of all curriculum approved, with an additional 70%, or 7%, excuse me, pending approval in 2025 versus 1% in 2022. So by the end of this next calendar year, we should be at around 53% curriculum documents approved. Looking at a lot of social studies, high school, middle school social studies, some high school science, elementary PE, high school English and math, and then middle school music coming up in the next couple.
Great, thank you. Moving on down the road, Mrs. Parker, personnel.
Yes, we met. We had a very short meeting, only a few items. We went over the job description for the summer school supervisor and for new para-educators, and one new position for Delta Harder here, and a couple of memorandums for understanding. That was it.
Okay, thank you. Next, Mr. King.
Finance, again, it was also another short meeting. Considerably shorter than our usual finance meeting. We only went through one letter in the alphabet this time. Few job descriptions, few contract, and charity donations, which are on the board agendas, most of them are on the consent agendas.
All right, and Ms. Reyes, please go. Allison.
Sure. So we met last month. There's 2 items that we have that are on the agenda. One is regarding artificial intelligence, and it's kind of setting the groundwork so that teachers are able to introduce it to students as a tool and use it in their planning, and also to be able to use it in an ethical manner. And then there's another policy that speaks to the graduation requirements for the class of 2023 and beyond. And that was taken from some of Hartford's policies, Cade and Shipley.
Okay. Board reports. Anything folks want to comment on? Yes, Ms. Hinton?
Just community, well, first I just wanted to say thank you to our school district leadership. I put in a very, I say small request, but it's never a small request. I wanted to know what our key and bridges programs look like, and we actually did a tour of the key program at the Educational Center, and we were here at Chamberlain. And I can't say thank you enough to everybody that joined the company and then also waved, and that we just really had a good time. So I thought it was just rocking and rolling, right? And just like off the dog. So it was just great. So I can't say thank you enough for that. The students that we met, the staff that we met, and just the programming and the details of it. So I thank everyone who participated in that and that shook my hand and smiled. It's important for us as parents to be able to see it, as board members to be able to see it, just as a community to be able to see what programs look like and that they really are impacting students' lives every day. I did want to just make a really quick mention about this weekend's event for Three Kings Day. We did have one camel who really just dug his hooves in and just was not going to move. And we were at St. Mary's. And I don't know if maybe he hadn't gotten the memo and the other two were walking and he said no and stayed there. So it was three wise men split up amongst two camels. There was nothing, nothing beautiful about it. This is just the reality of what happens. But I will tell you that the other animals that were brought did show up, show out, and we're having a really good time. I'm just saying, those goats never had it so good. A little cold, but they were really having a good time. And so, it was a wonderful Three Kings Day event. Happy Epiphany for everybody. We had a wonderful Hanukkah in my house, and then also, of course, Christmas and everything else, and New Year. So, happy holidays, everybody.
Hi. I just want to refer back to our performance here. You guys did a wonderful job. And if I had two good news, I would have done it. Thank you.
Yes.
I just wanted to give a public shout out to Transportation Department and Ms. Parlow over at Hal's. My son had a spill ice skating the last day of, not in school, but the last day of school. Broke his ankle, and he had a bus transportation by the end of the first day. It was very, very smooth. I didn't even remember the call, and it was just taken care of. So I was very impressed with how quickly that was addressed without even me having to talk to anyone about it. So thank you.
And I just want to give one more comment about this. We're kind of split as you got here as well. I want to give a shout out that whenever I see, not only the fact that she's going to Notre Dame, she's going go ride. And if you hear that one of our students is going to ride one of the best colleges in the country, that's more than bragging for a good time. So we need to that's something to brag about for our school students. So definitely we need to have some congratulations in their formal letter to the board to her. Congratulations for it.
Bundle up, it's cold in Indiana, I'll tell you.
It is.
All right. Anyone else? Okay, student representative report?
Excuse me for my voice, it's a little cracky today.
It's good to hear, I got you.
What me and Z would like to talk about is the activities around the building, like bathrooms and water fountains. Most of them around the building are not usable. We can have evidence from the teacher that their bathroom is on the second floor and that the second floor water fountain hasn't been working for years. So I think that's a problem because we have to go to farther water fountains to refill water bottles and that's it's more tedious to do that than to go farther. So I would like to discuss about that, but I think that's really it.
Thank you. Hope you get your voice back.
That's why I noticed as I tour around the high school to the addition of the maintenance of the building too. I said, I'm wondering, that's right, I can hear, you're saying your issue with the water fountains, is it in the bathroom itself, not working, is that what you're saying? It's not your head.
Sorry if I cut out.
It's not your head.
For water fountains, they're just not working. Like, they're there, but they're just like on. For bathrooms, they're just like locked, so students can't use them throughout their day. And there's a reason for it, but it's just not for the other students who need to use it.
Well, I can understand the bathroom being locked for safety and I know for security and other reasons, but the water fountains, that's definitely an issue.
It's not just one, it's multiple. And the temperature in the water fountains too, they're not the same. Some are warm and some are like very cold.
Thank you.
Thanks. Okay, so next on our agenda, we have Kate Murphy
Ms. Murphy is here.
to provide us with a presentation regarding the food service program and the federal guidelines and goals.
Good evening, board. So hopefully you've got a copy of the packet. So I'm just going to review some things. So just to give you an idea of how many meals we actually serve in our school district, we serve close to 900,000 meals since the first day of school in our district. On average, about 11,700 meals every day. That's just breakfast and lunch. And in some of our schools, we also serve supper. I conducted 18 official school lunch site monitoring visits. While I was there, I look at all aspects. They look for how are they serving their meals? Are they serving full meals to our students? Are all the components of the meals offered? Are the staffing following all the federal regulations? I also do suggestions while I'm there. Some things that were suggested were more variety of fresh vegetables available for the students every day, and increase their batch cooking, meaning that they should be cooking in between every lunch break, monitoring how many meals are served, and are we running out of something, do we need to cook more? I did not observe any spoiled or expired food while I was on any of my lunch site visits. I also conducted 12 breakfast site monitoring visits. There is breakfast in the classroom at many of our schools, and I went into classrooms and observed how the teachers are serving the students' meals. I reviewed the rosters that the teachers are using to check off when they serve a meal to a student, and I did find some compliance issues with that. We are working very hard at transitioning our breakfast service out of the classroom hands of the teacher and moving it back into the hands of our food service staff. We've already transitioned 3 schools now, and we're working on transitioning more, and we will continue by the end of the school year, have all the schools transitioned to no longer having the teachers serve the meals. So it'll be served by cafeteria staff, either at a kiosk in the hallway or through the cafeteria line. We've had some student advisory meetings. During the student advisory meetings, I did some taste tests with new products, breakfast items with our students to get their opinion on it. I also, during these meetings, explained what a meal is. We talked about likes, dislikes, concerns, the new things they'd like to see on the menu. And we've already started implementing some of those things on the January breakfast menu and lunch menu. I'm working on developing a parent advisory committee. We're looking to have 2 or 3 representatives from every school meet. We'll meet maybe once a month for about an hour. I'm starting right now to get the logistics together, but I've reached out to the principals and we're going to start identifying parents that might want to be on the committee. The next thing you'll notice on page 1 is what is a breakfast? I want to explain to you what a meal is. So here's pictures, actual pictures that I took of what the students get for breakfast in the morning. So a breakfast bag will contain their entree, 100% juice carton, and they can also, so right there in their breakfast bag, that's considered a complete meal by USDA guidelines. But they're also offered additional fruit and milk to add to their breakfast if they want to. On page 2, this explains what's for lunch. So our students are offered an entree, which consists of usually a grain and a protein. They're also offered fresh fruit, fresh vegetables, and a milk choice. Students must take 3 components, and one of them must be a fruit or a vegetable in order for it to be compliant with USDA regulations. These are pictures of actual meals that are served at the high school. I went in during lunch on a surprise visit and started taking pictures of some of the meals that were offered at our high school. We have the pizza station that does 3 varieties of pizza every day, plus specialties like calzones and pizza pops. We also offer sushi at the high school. There's a picture of that. There's the Asian taco bar, which is in the World Market selection. They also have a grill station and a daily panini station that is located on their deli. On page 3, this is some pictures of what we have hanging in all of our schools to explain to students what a full meal is. They must take certain components to be considered a USDA regulated meal. And this is just a little bit of an explanation of what. But just like lunch, breakfast is the same thing. They have to have a fruit and or veggie, but we offer fruit. Juice is the most popular fruit item, so we have that in every single breakfast bag available for students. On page 4, I want to talk a little bit about the social media concerns that we have. So as soon as it was brought to our attention, I immediately met with Whitson's staff, Emmanuel and John, to review the pictures. Smedley pulled some video for us, and we had hours of video that we looked at to look at the quality of food. Was there anything that stuck out to us I did not see in the videos? The health department came in and conducted inspections at 3 of our schools, and there were no findings of moldy or expired food by the health department. I performed unannounced site visits to the high school, Pulaski, Slade, Brookside, Smith, and Smalley. I did not myself observe any moldy or expired food as well. I also reviewed invoices to see when the last time peaches and nectarines were ordered, and the last time we received black trays on our order. We didn't have black foam lunch trays. I went back all the way to July looking at invoices, and we had already transitioned away to the compostable lunch trays at that point. Is it remotely possible that there were some lunch trays somewhere in a storeroom that maybe one of the employees grabbed? Yes, it could be possible, but we have not ordered those or the peaches or nectarines since the fall. So some things I wanted to let you know that we're doing to ensure better quality of food. I have weekly meetings with Whitson's management, John and Emmanuel, they're the on-site management staff here. I review menus and recipes with them. I'm holding the student advisory meetings to get feedback. We're also going to be putting together surveys for the students, as well as looking at doing surveys for our parents as well. We're starting the parent advisory committee. We're also starting to attend School Nutrition Association conferences to see what other school districts are doing, to go to food shows to find products that might better suit our students. And we're also doing training and retraining of food safety and food quality for our staff in the district. On page 5 is the RFP process. So the state of Connecticut requires that every 5 years, if you have a food service contract company, that you put the contract out to bid. So that we are coming to the end of the contract with Whitson's. Whitson's has been in the district since 2003, and their most recent contract started in July of 2020. The process for the RFP, we have to attend a mandatory staff training by the state of Connecticut on the RFP process, and that will be held on January 30th. We are required to go out to bid every 5 years, and with a 1-year contract, but with 4 renewals. So this is an overview of the process for the RFP. We're going to attend the training, and then we'll put together the RFP that is given to us by the state. The state gives us the template for the RFP. We put in what is unique to our school district and things that we would like to see in our school district. We then have to send that RFP back to the state for their approval. The state will review it. If it's approved, we'll send it out we'll publish it for at least 45 days. After that, we would review them and then award the contract. On page 6, we had this is an overview of our State of Connecticut Child Nutrition Administrative Review. This is held every 3 to 5 years. It is very detailed, very in-depth what they look at. They look at every aspect of the meals program. We had some findings and we were given some corrective actions that we're working on. So some of the corrective actions fall under meal counting and claiming. We need to develop procedures to ensure accurate meal counting in the classroom. So that came back to looking at the teachers' rosters. When the teachers were passing out a breakfast meal to a student, did they necessarily check it off? Some of the rosters that the state reviewed had every single student checked off every single day. Well, is that accurate? Were they using it as attendance and not necessarily when they passed out breakfast? So we're coming up with new procedures, retraining staff, retraining our teachers if needed as to how to serve a meal and how to claim the meal. But like I said, we're going to be transitioning away from having the teachers serve breakfast in the classroom and get it back into the hands of the food service department. Meal component and qualities. They asked us to revise the peanut butter and jelly recipe. So we were giving a meal package, I guess you would want to say. There was a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, a cheese stick, and graham crackers. USDA regulations say that graham crackers are a dessert-based grain, and we're only allowed to serve those 2 days a week. So they asked us to revise the recipe and not serve Scooby graham crackers to the students every day with their peanut butter and jelly sandwich. So Whitson's is getting a larger peanut butter and jelly sandwich for the students. They asked us to change our chicken salad recipe. We were using a raw piece of chicken and grilling it, and the state was unable to see how that credits towards the proper protein for a student. So they're asking us to just change the recipe and change the product, the chicken that we're using. Offer versus serve. We're going to be providing training for students. So offer versus serve is we offer all the meal components to a child, but they don't have to take all of them. If we were served, we would serve them every single thing and they would have to take it. So one of the things the ladies at the register were saying, go grab a fruit when they already had a vegetable on their tray. So the state said, they don't have to take a fruit. We encourage them to take the fruit and the vegetables and all the components of their meal because then they'll be fuller throughout the day. So we're working with staff just to remind them that they're not forcing them to take it, just a gentle reminder if they'd like to add more meals, more components to their meal. Revenue from non-programmed food. They asked us to develop procedures for pricing of catering and how the steps will be consistently followed. So Whitson's put together a plan of how they are going to do billing for all the catering events. Food safety. They asked us to update and include food safety procedures directly on the recipe. There is a food safety book that they have with all the steps for how to properly do things, but the state requested that we put those steps directly on the recipe so the people that are cooking the food and serving the food don't have to go to the manual. They could actually just look right directly at the recipe and see what they need to do. Also, our professional standards for tracking. We need to update our spreadsheet, and then we also have to finish training all of our staff and teachers that are serving breakfast in the classroom on civil rights. Does anybody have any questions?
Well, I do, but does anybody else?
I did, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. You want through us?
Thank you, Mr. P. Just a few questions. First comment, which is the breakfast kiosks that have been rolled out. I've heard really great feedback on. I know the transition is probably going to be rocky in the first week or two, but once the new process is in place, it seems like the staff are acclimated in your newsletter as well. So that would be great to get it out to all the schools. I had a question about the fresh fruit and vegetable program. Can you talk a little bit about how that's being utilized in our schools?
The Fresh Fruit and Vegetable Grant Program?
The grant program.
Okay, so this year we did not receive the grant. Every year the district has to apply for the grant, and this year we did not receive the grant. So we don't have the Fresh Fruit and Vegetable Snack Program available in the school district this year.
This year. Will we apply for it next year?
Yes, we will.
Perfect. Okay, thank you. One more question. What schools serve dinner and how are they chosen?
Off the top of my head, there are 15 sites. I cannot name all of them. I think all of the elementaries, the high school. We also do Boys and Girls Club. And there is one more that is not in a school, and I just can't remember the name.
Is it based on after-school programming?
Yes, so the summer program can only be held if there is curriculum-based programming happening in the school. And for the most part, all of our schools have either Park and Rec or YMCA has programs, and those are curriculum-based in the afternoon, so we're able to provide meals for the students.
Thank you.
So, thank you. Through you, my question really is, because I heard everything that you said, and I completely appreciated the experience downstairs. And the only thing I keep thinking of is for the kids who have trouble with their behaviors and have sensory issues and going through a lot, right? Let's say they're not able to get what they should be getting because they're having a challenge or just a moment. How do you guys make sure that they also still get their nutrition?
So a lot of times I see that a parent will come with the student and we'll put the things on the tray, or they'll come up afterwards after they've been seated and say they missed their fruit or they missed their vegetable, and they're more than welcome to go back and up and get it.
You ever get where the kids are just flat out refusing, they don't want to take fruit and veg?
Yes.
They're okay with just the milk. You're still checking them off for whatever it is that they are getting.
So I did see this at a couple of the schools. Sorry, I didn't interrupt you. So I sat with the student and I asked them if they would just try it for me. And I went and sat with them and I said, I'll try it if you try it. So it gets them to try it more. So in the experiences that I did see that at the schools, I tried to work with the students and say, let's just try it, you might like it.
Okay. No, I'm just trying to make sure that that information kind of is getting to where it needs to, because it does impact their learning. And then I'm sorry, I had written down the first part of that question, was like, and then when a parent relays that they're having some challenges with, I don't know, a particular food, they've got sensory issues that doesn't like apples. It isn't that they have an apple allergy, they're just not tolerating apples well. How are they able to relay that to you?
So on the cash register, when the student comes up, we have serving line notes that come up. And if the student doesn't like apples, there are other items that they could take. So there's not just one set fruit for that day or one set vegetable. We, through working with Whitson's, I had suggested that we do a rainbow tray. So a rainbow tray of vegetables and a rainbow tray of fruits. That way the student has more options, that it's not just, kale that's on the menu today. What if I don't like kale? So there is going to be, they just started this week since we came back, having a rainbow tray of fruits and vegetables available so students can try it.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yes, Mr. King.
How about accommodations for different religious menus, religious accommodations, allergies? I know when I look at the menu myself and what we do downstairs is that if I have religious restrictions, I would start questioning my head, can I eat some of this food? Has everybody ever broached the subject to one of the schools, I have a religious consideration or accommodations ever made?
So we do have more than one variety available for students. So there's not just, if today's pizza, it's not just pepperoni pizza. There are other options available for students. There's, I do believe, 3 or 4 options available daily for our elementary students. I think about 20 options available at the middle school and approximately 30 options available at our high school. So if there is something that they don't want or don't like or can't have for religious reasons, there's an alternative entree that they could have. For food allergies, we have it on the cash register, so when the students come up, their name or when they punch in their PIN number, a little pop-up screen says allergic to milk. So the cashier looks at their tray and identifies if there's that item on their tray, and if it is, they'll substitute it out for something else.
Can I just ask another question, expanding on exactly what Teacher Dr. Payne was saying? What Mr. Payne was saying was, and so I am curious about that because the only option that has been available to parents through no fault of my children's own, and God, just kind of the way that families happen through no fault of my own either, it just so happens that we cannot eat pork. So now, for years, what I was instructed to do was to put it into the parent portal for each student because I have my kids on the dashboard. Comes up, you're in Power School, you're putting it in, but that information never seemed to stick.
So that I don't know, I would have to do a little research on that to find out.
That's okay, but my kid's in 12th grade, so I'm just curious when we're gonna get there.
So I do know that the pop-up is for allergies. I don't know if religion preferences are on there.
I've just, only because there's been so much chatter out there, I've got some questions, and I think I already know the answers, but I want it public. I want it out there. So our food program is federally subsidized. Students pay for their lunch?
No, all meals are free to all students.
Okay. There are specific guidelines in order to have federally subsidized meals. There are certain guidelines that have to be followed.
Yes.
By any agency that comes in to serve these meals.
Yes.
Okay. Again, I'm just listening to social media, watching social media, and there seems to be misinformation. So I want to make sure there's a lot of things that are clear and on public record and on camera, so everybody can go in and view later on. A question about the parent advisory group. How does one get their name on said list and involved in that?
So it is in its infancy right now. I'm putting it together now to see how we're going to choose. We're going to, when we're going to meet, how we're going to meet, how often we're going to meet, and for how long. So I'm developing all of that now.
So once that's developed, that will get, the notice will go out to all the schools, the parents, and whatever that they can.
If anybody's interested in joining.
Actively sign up and get involved.
Yes.
And become a big part of the solution if there be a problem or an issue.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much.
You're
I appreciate
welcome.
it. Oh, sorry.
Sorry, one more question. This has to do with food waste. So because our students have to take the fruit and the vegetable, it leads to a huge amount of food waste. I know that some schools might use share tables or share bowls. I don't think that's actually allowed according to policies, but I'm not sure. How do you approach reducing the amount of food waste in our schools?
So part of that is offer versus serve. They're required to take a fruit or a vegetable. They don't have to have both. We encourage them to take everything because we want to make sure they're eating. That's why the rainbow tray is important, because the rainbow tray of vegetables and fruit, because if they don't like this, there's another choice for them. They don't have to take the broccoli just because it's broccoli and that's the only choice today. They might like the carrots or the cucumbers that are on there. I have seen in other school districts that there are share tables that cannot be controlled by the food service department. I have seen that there's a table that the whole wrapped fruit If the student doesn't want it, they put it in the basket, and any other student is welcome to take it. But it can't, once it leaves the cafeteria for food safety reasons, once it leaves the serving line, it cannot come back into the kitchen. So someone has to be responsible for making sure that that's cleaned up at the end of the day and not wasted. And we also have to be mindful of what are they putting in there? Are they putting in milk? Are they putting in yogurt? Things that aren't controlled, might not keep their temperature properly.
Thank you.
There's a question now.
Yes, sir, Mr. King.
Yeah, I appreciate everything that you told us, given us. The food tonight was very good. No concerns or anything as far as that goes. I appreciate that you're working to get some parent feedback and parents on board. I am curious as far as, we have 2 students here, wondering what your feedback is and feedback in general from students, since they're the ones consuming the food daily. And I'm sure some of it will be things like Ms. Marino was saying, maybe out of our control, like a whole green roll, but there may be some legit concerns that maybe we can address and improve things for them. So if you don't mind sharing, I'd love to hear.
He's going to say his voice doesn't work. What a number 2 time.
Down and pretending to write, say it for him.
Can you just elaborate the question?
Yeah, just your experience with the food at New Britain High School and
Oh, okay. Well, I just get I stick to a certain meal. I don't experiment with the food. So I normally just get the sandwiches, and it's really good. But the only thing is just like the lunch lines, they take too long. So, but in general, the foods are really good. I just wish that the lines didn't take as long as it does. But I like how diverse it is. I like how there are different options, different varieties of foods. There's salad, there's pizzas, there's sandwiches, there's burgers, honestly anything. So I enjoy that.
Thank you. And we did start to address the length of the lines. We saw that the deli station was so popular. There are now 3 deli stations instead of just 1. So we're looking at how can we make the lines go faster, getting student feedback. And I go and I sit down in the cafeteria with students and talk to them and try to get their opinion. So thank you.
And there has been improvements.
Thank you.
I'm currently talking, I can't hear about the voice anymore. I just have a question. For the lines, like talking about the lining process, you can't just like replace workers, because we do see like what's happening in the kitchen, because the line is like right next to the kitchen. And there's like a lot of employees or staff sitting around, not like being prepared to do anything or helping their employees or their coworkers with the food. And I feel like that could help with the process of getting food in faster. Especially with today, I feel like today was like the worst. When I was getting the sandwich, I usually experiment with the food. I like doing whatever. Some days I like nacho sandwiches, whatever, wings. I like wings. The wings are like the best. Today, I feel like they take like a lot of time to get it ready, especially with putting on gloves. The person that was making the food, she was changing her gloves, but it took her more than like 2 minutes to like change gloves. So I never understood like why is she taking so long? There's a lot of people on the line, and she's just not like, I don't know, she's just not being efficient.
Okay. So are all things I will look at. Thank you.
Yeah, for me, that was the main concern. I was just waiting for everybody's questions because I did have my daughter graduated last year, and she was number one. I would have to fight with her to stay in line, but she would voice to me that it takes too long. So by the time she gets up there, she's late for class. So I'm glad to hear that you at least move some things around to help out with that.
So I hope that, that congestion does flow better.
We also opened up 2 kiosks that are actually in the cafeteria now where they can go and quickly grab cold options and fresh pizza made, and also the grill station. So we did move some of it out of the serving area and into the new kiosks that are on the sides of the cafeteria.
Can I ask, how many, there's more than one lunch wave?
There's 4.
Just-
And even that's pushing it. That's pushing it. 4 to get.
Okay, and how many students per lunch wave?
They vary. There could be anywhere from 500 to 700.
Okay.
And it's been, if I could say that, from my understanding too, it's been a little bit exasperated because, when we switched over to the block, a lot, not a huge impact, but there's an impact. I mean, the move, having some of us have done cat duty in that cafeteria, I mean, it's a lot to get all those kids through the
right.
time that they have. I mean, other than adding another lunch wave, I mean, it's a tough logistical thing to do every day. I've been thinking about that just in the background as our numbers are starting to increase and tip up again. So that I remember the days when we had close to 3,000 trying to get all those kids to the lunch wave. And just watching kids at the end never, and again, nothing necessarily has to do with, you could have 5 stations, right? It's just the sheer number of kids that have to get through that cafeteria. It's just tough.
Okay. Just trying to get a sense of what we're talking about in logistics.
Any concerns? I'm asking us. What about the elementary and middle schools? Are they okay? Most of them are top school, right? Don't anybody, anything from the other schools?
I have one.
Well, I haven't heard much other than the social media.
All right, going once, going twice. Thank you, ma'am. I
Thank you. Have a good night.
Appreciate you taking the time and to educate us and everyone else on this.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, moving right along. Item A, approved minutes from the regular Board of Education meeting of December 2nd. I have a motion to approve.
No move.
Second.
And I have a second. Any comments, questions? I have one change on, well, what's my page 8? It was on the first page. Mr. Kane with a K, motion to approve Mr. Kane with a C, not a K, as secretary.
Here is correct.
Oh, on the one I'm looking at, on my copy, it's,
Oh, yes.
oh, it is correct there. Okay, good. No,
On the email version was wrong.
gotcha.
It's probably just for dispatch too.
Okay. Then I take that back. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? All right. Item B, report of personnel transactions and extracurricular appointments. Motion to approve.
So moved.
Moved and seconded by Ms. Santana. Any questions, comments? I saw that we got at least 7 para-educators on there.
Our talent department continues to deserve kudos for how hard they're working at recruitment, for sure. And, most notably the para-recruitment fair that happened.
Correct.
Last year.
I know.
Technically speaking.
Technically speaking, right? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? All right, we're approved. Okay, enrollment report.
We continue to trend up as you folks get questions from your elected officials. Perhaps your older persons, when they review our budget, please do note that our enrollment is up.
We didn't approve that.
That's information.
That's information. All right. Item D, motion to approve grant from the Office of Early Childhood to create more spaces for children in response to increased enrollment.
So typically this would, of course, flow through our typical committee structure, but because it has the potential to open up spots in our early childhood programs, and that's that the board can consider approving it.
Motion to accept. Second.
Any comments, questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? Just wait. All right, motion to approve, sorry. Microphone, that is so sensitive. Motion to approve board policy 6310, artificial intelligence.
This was reviewed by the policy committee and moved forward to the full agenda for tonight.
Did I have a motion?
So moved.
Second. Okay, thank you. Discussion. You were taking that to your advisory council. After we had policy and we discussed that, didn't that go to your advisory council?
We did, we discussed it among a number of other things. There were no major concerns or changes.
Okay. Any other comments, questions, concerns? Yes?
Question on the policy itself is it mentions that any misuse of AI, AI-generated work, etc., including use of deepfakes, which when I went to the K conference is a big concern, a growing concern, which you refer to the discipline code. What are some possible punishments through the code they might incur for using AI or deepfake, etc.?
So it really depends on existing board policy, everything from sexual harassment, which could result in expulsion, to much more minor, infractions. But certainly, deep fakes are being used for very, very disruptive reasons, and again, things that could be determined as sexual harassment and/or sex-based harassment is how the term is used now. So it would be basically the AI is being used to do what? So it was being used as a tool to do what type of disruptive behavior? And then we would look at the board's policy.
So we have AI is used in cheating, you look for possible cheating. AI is the deepfake is used to get somebody in trouble, you look at that policy from the policy.
Correct.
Okay.
AI used for bullying, apply to bullying, AI.
Right, there's no policy for cheating.
Right. Which is hopefully some future work of the policy committee.
And that was going to be my only comment, because I know we discussed this in policy under the risks and ethical considerations, only referencing the student discipline code. That speaks more to the bullying and the physical issues and concerns, not, and I believe we had a long conversation, and Mr. Escobar mentioned a modification in policies, I think, in your district, where deepfakes were then tied into the school discipline, i.e. suspensions, potential expulsions, all of that good stuff, as opposed to plagiarism and cheating, which we don't have a policy to link into this. That's why, for me, I'm okay for this as an initial starter placeholder kind of thing, but I would like to see that expanded. Mr. King with the C.
If I may, we did have a couple of model policies from K that we started to look at, and we just need to bring them back as far as cheating goes.
This is just basically building the groundwork.
The groundwork, right. And I'm good with it as a groundwork thing. I think there needs to be some modifications or enhancements. Mr. King, C.
At the CAPE conference, again, it mentioned how recommendation was that you include some policies where you face the same reason that the rest of the policy district does it, that it could lead to plagiarism, other consequences, and even colleges that I work with now who UConn, SSU, they're including separate policies for AI usage, using AI to lead to expulsion. They have separate policies now for AI usage. So it might consider down the road that we might want to have a separate policy for consequences of AI usage.
Any other comments, questions? So folks are,
Good start.
it's a start. Right, okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Were you saying opposed or were you scratching your head?
No, I was scratching my head.
Gotcha, sorry. I can't, just confirming. Okay. Any abstentions? All right, so we're good there. All right. Next item, motion to approve board policies 6146.22, graduation requirements for the class of 2023 and beyond.
As Ms. Velasquez explained during the presentation to the policy committee, this is basically codifying current practice and also ensuring that we're in alignment with the most recent state statute, which has changed frequently in the past.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second? Second by Mr. Rivera. Any other comments, questions,
Do we have any
concerns?
students who are in danger of graduating if this is passed because they're not meeting the requirements?
As stated, this is codifying current practice, so I don't believe the passage of the policy, if that occurs tonight, would change a student's status.
The FAFSA completion, that's a state mandate?
It
It
is.
is,
Starting.
yeah. Oops, sorry.
Can I just ask a quick question, because I had seen this and I just wanted to make sure that I got something clarified, because it's happened no less than 3 times already. On page, what for us is 29, middle of the page, number 3, under FAFSA requirement for class graduating in 2027 and thereafter. Totally get it, that means only one of 2 of my kids. That a waiver could be completed by a principal, school counselor, teacher, or other certified educator that could complete the waiver on behalf of the student. Am I reading that correctly? Just what's written there? What happened before March 15th applying to classes? Were you on your own, or you didn't have the option of a waiver, or what was the policy there?
They can complete the waiver.
I'm not clear on the question, please.
I'm just curious that right here, you just said that you were just codifying what was already in place, right?
Yeah.
Is that correct? Okay.
Yes.
So then, I understand that, I'm just curious where the waiver, where do you get a waiver signed? Because it's right over here written. Funny enough, nobody seems to speak English anytime I'm asked for it. I'm just curious, this is right over here codified. Where do you tell a parent that the information isn't getting to the parents?
Ms. Velasquez, are you?
I didn't know what came to them.
We're on the middle of page 29 in the board's packet. The FAFSA section of the proposed graduation requirement policy.
But isn't this talking about students graduating in 2027? So we have,
But this is just codifying something that's already in place.
Right.
I don't think that's
Usually it's encouraged.
So, correct, to clarify, thank you. The FAFSA is a new portion. The FAFSA as a legal requirement is new.
As a legal requirement.
Correct.
So that's not already in place now.
So thank you. And so I apologize if I wasn't clear. So much of what's in this is just codifying existing practice
In addition to-
or where the state law has changed. This has been added. So I apologize if I wasn't clear about that.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
And there are some parents who, no matter how hard we try, either cannot or will not, or will complete the FAFSA with their children. I mean, we tried, in my school, we tried everything, but other than knock on their door, climb down the chimney, to get a big FAFSA with the child, and it's impossible sometimes to get to do it. So I can understand why they want to put an opt-out in the school district. But they tried everything, and you're probably going to document in some way that they tried.
But I think conversely, just, and I'm sorry, I did not mean to jump ahead of you. I was only asking because I needed it to be expanded for just when the left hand isn't talking to the right hand, and now you actually have it written down. That's what needs to happen and everybody be on the same page. My child is not intellectually able to fill it out or assist me. I can, not gonna get to that step. So I was curious about, I appreciate the superintendent for expanding on that. I really honestly do. I appreciate it.
Yes, Mr. King.
Another matter, just a minor typo on page 26. Civics should be 5 credits, not 5 credits. Just to make sure that that gets in the
That's important. Oh, you want more than 5?
All right, any more comments, questions? With the modification, those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay. Hello, Attorney Ritter.
Hello, how are you?
Good evening. So because Attorney Ritter will be here with us for a matter that will occur in executive session, we thought it was an opportune time to have Attorney Ritter give the board an update. I think the board will recall from a recent meeting where I mentioned that the administrators were going through quite a lengthy training process for new Title IX requirements. You might recall I mentioned that those requirements or those responsibilities by the board and thereby the school district, of course, now it's beyond the school day. So we're glad to have Attorney Ritter with us tonight to give the board a brief overview of how this federal law has changed. Executive session on separate matters.
Thank you, ma'am.
Hello? Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Unless you prefer to sing from the risers, Attorney.
Either way, I'm flexible. So thank you all for having me. Happy New Year. I'm Jessica Ritter with Shipman and Goodwin. Nice to see you all. I've been asked to give a very brief, high-level overview of the 2024 Title IX regulation changes. The reason why I say brief is because the actual training for your central office and all of your administrators is an annual requirement that takes about 3 hours. And then for all of your other staff, it is now an annual requirement that takes about 1 hour. Given that we have other things on your agenda, I will just briefly go through the slides that I gave you just in about 10 minutes. Happy to answer any questions. But just so we all know, just for our background, obviously we know that Title IX comes from the educational amendments of 1972. As a public school district, you are a recipient of federal funds, which means that you cannot engage in discriminatory conduct on the basis of sex because you receive those federal funds. Interestingly enough, prior to 2020, there were no actual federal regulations covering sex discrimination. There was just guidance from the Office of Civil Rights, which is the federal agency that is charged with overseeing sex-based discrimination and looking into complaints of sex-based discrimination. In 2020, we actually, for the first time, saw actual federal regulations regulating sex-based discrimination. That was a sweeping change, which many of your administrators and your staff were trained on. It was a very daunting task. We now, fast forward to 2024, we have additional sweeping changes that now our staff are going to have to be familiar with. And I promise you, I will probably be back here in a year because I think the pendulum is now going to shift back to what we're seeing in 2020. So we've already heard some rumblings about that. So what I am sharing with you tonight probably will change within the next 6 to 12 months. So I just want everyone to be clear on that point. So what you have in front of you shows us what the main highlights are from the transition from 2020 to 2024. So these regulations were issued, and I'm on page 1 of the slides that I gave you, on April 19th of 2024. They took effect on August 1st of 2024. So this is important because if you receive any information related to an incident that happened prior to August 1st of 2024, because there are no real statute of limitations for such complaints, your administration is going to be required to assess and review the matter under the 2020 regulations. If anything happens after August 1st of 2024, the complaint alleges that the conduct happened after that, we have to implement the 2024 regulations. Now, what makes this even more confusing, though, is there is a pending federal court case, the Moms for Liberty. They have brought forward a claim indicating that the portion of the amendments that pertain to the LGBTQ plus rights of students and staff members is unconstitutional and violates certain religious views that they have. As a result of that, there are several school districts across Connecticut that have been named as parties to such complaint. I don't know that any of our New Britain schools have been named. I don't know, Dr. Gasper, you would have received notice if they had. Otherwise, there's a very obscure website that we can go on to that is not up to date that would show us whether or not any schools in New Britain have been named as a plaintiff. I am not aware of any, and I don't believe that Dr. Gasper has received any notice, which he's required to receive. That would mean, though, and if you do receive that if that happens, we would likely have to, let's say if the conduct here was alleged at the Chamberlain School, we would have to assess the conduct under the 2020 regulations versus if the conduct was alleged at the high school and the high school had not been named as a party to the lawsuit, we would look at it under the 2024 regulations. I say all of this because it's very complicated, and obviously if you are dealing with these types of issues, certainly we are here to assist you in that. Yes, because it is very complicated right now, and as I said, I think that we will be making some very significant changes in the coming year. But then if you turn to page 2, some of the major highlights. So under the 2020 regulations, we had a definition of sexual harassment that is now being coined as sex-based harassment. So we have a much broader definition of what sex-based harassment is that includes things like sex stereotypes, sexual characteristics, pregnancy or related conditions, sexual orientation, and gender identity. So again, that's a far more broad definition than we saw in 2020. The other very big change, and I think that this is going to be helpful to your administration, is that in the 2020 regulations, they had a very complicated grievance process that required basically a tripartite panel in which you had to have an investigator, then a decision maker, then an appeal person. And what was so complicated about that is that those 3 people within your district could not speak to one another about the process that they undertook to arrive at whatever decision they arrived at. So it was a very complicated procedural process, a lot of I's you had to dot, a lot of T's you had to cross. They have now streamlined this process in the 2024 regulations. So we see a much more effective streamlined process where we can go back to a more traditional way of investigating misconduct. So now we can have one person serve as the investigator the way that we would for any other type of misconduct, whether it be racially charged or based on my religion. I would be looking at it through a very similar lens, more streamlined approach, but we still have to have an appeals person under the Title IX regulations. But this has certainly been met with, I think, some relief by many of our administrators because it is a far less arduous process than it was under 2020. However, since we no longer have the same litigation type process, we do have a far more, like I said, expansive definition, and there also is a larger purview for our Board of Education. So under the 2020 regulations, and I cover this on slide 4 of what you have in front of you, if something happened off campus, or it was not at a school-sponsored event, or if it happened outside of the United States, the Board of Education had no obligation to investigate it. So in other words, someone could allege the misconduct. They could have said it happened on an off-seas trip in Italy, let's say, or it happened on the weekend and it wasn't a school-sponsored event. It had nothing to do. There was no fingerprints of the school district on it. You could simply say it doesn't meet the definition of Title IX. You could decline to investigate it under Title IX, but you may have had an obligation to investigate it under different policies such as bullying or your student discipline policy. This has changed, so now it covers off-campus conduct that you have disciplinary authority over. So that's extremely broad. That certainly is going to encompass your bullying policy. It's also going to encompass your student discipline policy. So it is going to require you, and potentially your non-discrimination policy. So it is going to require an administrator who receives this complaint to work closely with the Title IX coordinator to determine whether or not you have disciplinary authority over such conduct. So again, a more streamlined process, but a broader expansion of what falls under Title IX, and also a broader purview where the board does have to become involved. In addition, if you look on page 6, I had talked about the scope of Title IX and how it has become more comprehensive. Some of the definitions have also become more comprehensive. You'll also see that there are now specific terms defined in the final regulations under 2024 regs. In 2020, what they did was they cross-referenced things like quid pro quo, hostile environment, and specific offenses. Now those terms are actually specifically codified in the regulations. As we know, a quid pro quo is a form of sex-based harassment. That would be, if you want this, I will give you this for that, right? So in exchange of, I give you something favorable in exchange for an unwelcomed sexual contact. Also, a hostile environment would mean that the conduct was so egregious that a reasonably objective person would look at that and say it was so severe and pervasive such that that child or that employee can really no longer actively participate as a colleague or as a student in educational programs because of the conduct, because it has been so impactful to the victim. And then there are also specific offenses that are part of sex-based harassment, and those are sexual assault, dating violence, domestic violence, and stalking. So clearly there is a very large responsibility here on all of your school staff. Obviously, if they are made aware of any of these complaints, they have a legal obligation to inform the Title IX coordinator or to work with their school building principal. On page 7, I do cover the training and the policy requirements that are required. I don't know where New Britain is on their training, but it is going to be very important that once annually, all of our administrators, so I would say anyone with an 092 certification and anyone at the central office cabinet level, engage in the 3-hour training, and then the rest of your staff has to engage in that 1-hour training. We have modules ready to go. We have webinars, so we don't even have to come to you to do that. But certainly as a client, we can make those webinars available to you so that you can ensure that you are complying with the training requirements. And then obviously this requires you to update your policies and your administrative regulations to ensure compliance. So it's a very high level overview. Again, there are a lot of significant details here, but I'm happy to answer any questions if you have them at this time.
I'm just going to say thank God you're around to help us through this.
Yes.
Any questions, anything that folks might have for Attorney Ritter?
Okay, well, thank you all very much, and I'll see you in a few minutes for the executive session.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. So she snuck in a little while ago, and we've been busy doing things, but on Notre Dame.
Congratulations.
I told the rest of them, Indiana gets really cold. I know. Really, really cold. Midwest winters are nothing to sneeze at.
We're very proud of you.
Yes, absolutely. All right, moving on to consent agenda. Motion to approve consent agenda.
So moved. Second.
Any questions, comments? I should have asked first. Is there anything that anybody wants to take off the consent agenda? Apparently not. Okay. Any questions, comments, concerns regarding any of the items? All righty. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? Okay. Alrighty, on to the fun stuff. Executive session. Motion to go into executive session to discuss contract negotiations with Local 871.
Motion.
And inviting Attorney Ritter, Ms. Manning, and Dr. Gasper.
Motion. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Abstentions? Okay. Okay. All right, we are back. Everybody's back. Yes, okay. Everybody's back. All right. So, can I have a motion to approve contract with Local 871 Britain Federation of
moved.
Teachers?
Second.
Second.
Any discussion? I think one of the things that we talked about has to do with, in comparison of other districts, we feel that what has been negotiated and agreed to.
Madam Chairman, if I want to talk with executive session, repeat the words what we talked about.
Sorry. We feel that what is put forth here in the contract and what we're accepting here in the contract is fair. And in comparison to other districts around us, is reasonable. So, any other discussion, questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? Okay. Next, can I have a motion to accept contracts for the unaffiliated central office administrators?
Motion.
Second. Any comments, questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Opposed?
Opposed.
Abstentions? All right. Any other business?
I have one very small item, Madam Chair. I asked Mr. Smedley for an update on how many water fountains are currently out of operation at the high school?
One that our department knows about. The rest, and I had a conversation with the student representatives after you all left for executive session. I believe there's a misconception. There are some water fountains that are abandoned because they're not handicapped accessible. And those are the water fountains that you'll notice that are built into the wall or recessed into the wall. But if you look adjacent left and right of those, there's normally another water fountain within 100 feet. The response I got back from them, well, maybe someone should tell us that. And I said, your student press.
Will that be in the morning minutes?
And as far as the comments regarding the bathrooms, as you know, we just remodeled 4 of the bathrooms at the high school, 2 at the trophy case, 2 in front of the auditorium. Those are roughly $100,000 a piece to renovate. We hope to find some budgetary capital money at some point in the near future to do the first floor bathrooms for the students. But Mr. Pierce uses a lock schedule for the bathrooms because of the amount of vandalism and misuse of the facilities that does occur. And I did reaffirm that to the student reps again as well.
I figured that was the reason why.
We do the same thing.
Madam President, I did like the idea of coming to a school tonight and saw it was very crowded, a lot of people participating. One general observation I had, I already shared with Ms. Edwards, getting into the building was kind of hard. Like the office staff, honestly, was not exactly welcoming. And then you're like, who are you? while you're here. But then sound system, it was very hard to understand us and speaker. I had a hard time understanding the group presentation at some points. She was kind of muffled to the sound. And even Ms. Ritter's presentation was kind of hard to understand. And so there's no one we take into account when we're doing our school presentation, the sound system, the acoustics.
Do we maybe have a monitor pointed back towards us?
Yes, I will have that added for, I do apologize, I forgot to add a monitor here for you tonight.
Thank you.
And there will be signage posted outside of the next building of where to enter for the meeting.
Thank you.
Let's let them know we're coming. She like didn't know who we were.
They knew we were coming.
Yeah.
But those were good questions.
Was it-
right?
Was it
They asked me that too.
Yeah, security. There you
I'm
go.
glad.
That's what we
Right.
want.
Who are you? Why are you here? So one point of order, that may not have been our regular office staff, that might have been after-school program staff.
No, it was the lady that was standing with Mr. Anderson.
Didn't you use this to bring?
I couldn't find the button to ring in, but that's just me. Okay, any other new business?
Just one question, where are we the next time?
Pulaski?
Pulaski, yeah. And then the high school, I think.
Correct.
Short drive from
Yes.
Long drive for me.
Yes. All right, motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.